Okay, hey. We are talking reward-based riding. I am Angelica Heselius, and today we're gonna talk about cues for walk and stop and how we can build them in a reward-based setting, of course, but how we can build them from the environment. With us today, what you will see, that's me riding my young horse, my then young horse, Tiny. He is somewhere around 4 and something. He's not 5 yet, but he's soon about to become 5 here. So I've been riding him for maybe 3, 4, 5 max times. So he doesn't yet have the balance of a more educated horse, of course, and you will see me trying to be a passive luggage, him just working, cueing off the environment. You will see doormats that I've laid in a pattern and him walking between them. And that's how I build most behaviors up and how I create exercises for my horses. Doesn't really matter if they are ridden or from the ground. With this horse, we have a really strong foundation from the ground already. He can do all my foundation behavior really super well. Riding him for maybe 3, 4, 5 max. And that's in the system that I use, that's free walk, parking, hoof targets and nose targets. In this video we will see hoof targets, parking and a bit of free walk. No nose target, but from those 4 behaviors I build everything else I want my horse to know. So those are super important for me, and I have trained Tiny here to a high level of fluency. He knows how to do each and every one of them from different positions from the ground. I can walk in front of him, on his side, behind him, in liberty. That's the trick of it, because that's how I build behavior. Here we have tack on, yes, but the tack is just representing here the future working clothes. I like to have a saddle on, of course, because he's new to riding and doesn't yet have strength to carry me without saddle, at least in my opinion. And yeah, he has a side pull on as well, but it's merely there to set up for the future. So as we see here, coming from the corner, Tiny is already heading for the mat after the first stop. He is clear on the direction, and that is a very good thing that the mat help us with, the direction. We can give the horse a very strong idea of what we are about to do with a very simple setup. And I actually get 2 behaviors here. I get the walking towards the mat, that's where I build my walk on cue, and I get parking on the mat. That's a very well-trained behavior. I can ask him to stand on a mat, any mat, and he can stand there for several minutes, and I can go get stuff, you know, like saddle and stuff. I already know, and I use that to our advantage. I already know what he will guess on, and that is of course walk on, and I can start adding in my verbal cue. That's, in my case, that's our verbal cue for can you walk forward. And I know that he will, okay, I'm reaching a mat, so I will stop and stand on it, and then I can add my verbal ho. That's our stop cue. So working off and doing a cue transfer from the environment to me to slowly take over a little bit more of influence with me as more of the information channel here. I love working like that. And this, I mean, now we are in a enclosed area in the riding arena. So I mean, in this setting, I am very comfortable with the environment doing most of the work here. And also the clarity that it brings. He doesn't have to guess. which way we are going, and I don't have to use the reins for creating any behaviors yet. But in the long run, that is exactly what I want. I want to have the aids that look like our traditional aids, our leg aids, our rein aids. Well, of course, I want him to react to my body. I have started to install a little bit of body awareness from the ground, but of course, we are not there yet for many reasons in the saddle. So having the verbal cues installed, my and my ho, that also helps me build towards the tactile influence. And why I say tactile influence when I'm talking about rein and leg aids, that just to clarify that I have built them up in a quite different way from how we normally build things like this, like with escalating pressure. And that helps me really to also have something. If I need to clarify my leg and rein aids, I already have the setup clear to go back in my build-up of said behavior. But it's the same setup. Maybe here I haven't even started it. Later on, I wanted my verbal to be strong also without the setup in the environment. So starting to add my ho in between the mat. That is, of course, how I worked, and start to facing up. So maybe I had one mat in the beginning of the long side and one in the end. So we had a longer walk there. And it's not that I don't want to, I love that setup and I always want to keep it, but I don't want to be solely dependent on it. And that's why I also want him to be really strong on my two important cues that I ever use. I love to have a really, really strong stop cue, so that stop cue that can work in all environment from a distance and stuff like that. I want my stop cue to override all my other cues, but that also helps me bring a really, really good tactile cue. When I have influence on the rein, asking him to halt a little bit, I already have the backup cue, the ho, to connect a little bit with it. And my leg and rein aids will have often a really positive, well, we always need some timing, but often I will create a really, really strong positive association because of how I built it like this. And in the end, yeah, you might not notice the that it's built different, but going back to the behaviors build up, that's is what maybe differs from how we normally build leg and rein aids with escalating pressure. So I think this is a super good setup for starting to also learn the horse to work with the environment, that the environment is a resource, that the horse helps the horse figure out what is the next behavior, what are we supposed to do here. That helped me very much when I want to leave the riding arena and deal with the real world, so to speak, where I have very little control often over the environment and what happens in the environment. That builds very much curiosity of like, shall we go and examine that? And I can use that to my advantage, and that also creates a horse that is rather confident, to use even more labels, confident horse that is relaxed in new places, which is also one side effect, if you will, of building behaviors like this. So short example of how we can build walk and stop cues. And yeah, gonna continue to do this short series. If you have suggestions that you want me to talk about, just drop a comment. And thanks for watching.